zoning board of appeals.
Theme song, I think, as we go into the meeting.
We'll work on that. I think we started our zoning board of appeals meetings. Let's get ready to rumble. Come on there. Good job there. Coming from the third ward, Justin Abbott.
Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me all right? I can yell if need be. I don't like microphones. I feel like I need to
No,
sing
but
into
it
it.
goes to the,
That's probably not good for anybody here.
Goes to the recording if we
Yeah.
use them correctly.
Okay, I'll start by calling the meeting to order. When I say your last name, please reply with here. Cook is absent. Fowler? Here. Lambers?
Here.
Nieves?
Here.
Berlinski?
Here.
Shea?
Here.
And Ike, I am also here, and so we have a quorum this evening. It's been a while since we've all been in person, so I'm kind of used to doing this over Zoom. So it's nice to see so many faces in the room tonight. I'm going to start with the approval of the meeting minutes. We had a regular meeting on May 4, and then we had a special meeting that followed up on May 19th. So I don't know if anybody has had an opportunity to read through them, or if there are any questions for either one of those meeting minutes. If everyone has read them, if we can get somebody to make a motion to approve with a second, please.
Move for approval?
And the motion passes. Motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comment. So this is an opportunity for anybody who's here this evening, who is here not for a specific property, but has something that they would like to say, or they have questions or concerns to speak. So if you're not here for a property and you have any questions, please feel free to use this time. Just limit your comments to about 3 minutes or so. I'm kind of suspecting that everybody is here, though, for a specific property this evening based on the crowd. Yep, everybody's nodding. Okay, cooking right along. We'll get into the first order of the evening, which is unfinished business, and that's the certificate of appropriateness for, there we go, 261 Van Raalte Avenue. So that's for Bob and Nancy Schilze with a replacement of windows. And I know Bob and Nancy aren't here this evening. And I don't know if Mark or Dan, if either of you want to step in terms of what's next. We had tabled the discussion the last time around. There was some discussion about the windows in particular that the Schulzes had asked to replace. Mm-hmm. And then I believe that they were reviewed and decided not to make any changes right now. We're going to be looking at the possibility of actually repairing the windows. There was going to need to be a change to their storm windows, but I don't think they have a proposal in front of us right now. I don't know if we make a motion to table. I don't know if we can table it a second time,
I think that you can.
that we can table it a second time.
We've
Kind of
done
look
that,
into
I think.
Mallory too. I think that was part of their request, was it not?
I feel like we've
Yeah.
we can table things twice before
Okay.
we either need to take it off and they need to come back new,
Mhm.
but check me on that one. It's been a while.
And I'm new to,
And I know.
to staff you, so I don't know all your bylaws.
I'm pretty
and
sure
stuff.
you're correct on that, because that's what we've done in the past, but it is like a max of 2, and then we have to vote on it.
Right, so I would say that because Bob and Nancy aren't here this evening, if somebody could make a motion to table.
And to the next meeting, or just,
I think we have to table to
Say
the
so.
next
It
meeting.
only
It's
can go to
only
the
in
next
30-day
meeting.
increments if
Okay.
I'm right.
I'd move to table this item to the next meeting.
I'll second.
And motion carries. So this one will be tabled to the July meeting, the date which I do not have in front of me, but we'll go ahead and table this one to the next.
Fine.
You're gonna find it, aren't you?
July 6th.
Thank you. So tabled until July 6th. Thank you. We've got a number of items of new business this evening. The first one is a COA for 237 West 11th Street for the Collins family. So are the Collins here?
I am here.
Great.
My husband here.
Lovely. Do you want to come on? You're welcome to come on up to the podium if you want. If it,
Oh, don't-
that's okay.
don't
We're
be.
equally nervous on this side too.
Well, thanks for having us first.
Yeah.
I'm Katie and my husband is Garrett, and we're very excited. We have a new home on 11th, and we're doing our best to make it nice for our huge family. We have 5 kids. So the newest item is a window so we can have a bedroom for one of the many children. And that is what we're pursuing a certificate for at the moment. It needs to be an egress window apparently, so size does matter. So we're just trying to meet the egress code, but maintain everything else the same as much as possible. So it's on the back side of the house, looking, what direction would that be, north?
North?
Yes.
Mhm.
And it, the circle or the red square would be the window we're looking at. Specifically, the left window is kind of, we're gonna, correct me if I'm wrong, Garrett, but they would both come out, and then the window that you're looking at on the left side would be the egress window. So it would not have 2 separate windows anymore. It would be one window with the casement and then the railing across. That meets the egress code. Does that make sense?
I think so. If you scroll down a little bit more, Mallory, I think that there was a.
Oh, yeah, we try to get a drawing of what it will look like after it's replaced. It's the exact same window that was originally there through Duluth Lumber. It's the same window fabrication. It will look like the casement window. It's just the sizing will be a tad bit different. And in looking inside of the house, this was the closest we could get to make everything work. So it would look just like that, right? Or I should show Garrett. Because I don't actually have. Let me make sure I'm speaking correctly. Yes. So that's the best idea of what it will look like, right? I think you're on your end. Can you talk?
Yes, we're moving to the left, which is north, what's that, west? East.
East.
A few inches.
That's it.
But when we say it's a casement window, does that mean one that cranks out, or does that mean, okay.
Correct, yeah, crank out, window cranks out, so it's one full window.
Right, but, okay.
Why does it
To
have
me-
the bar across the horizontal bar
Thank you.
across it?
For the look to match the other windows.
So we're saying it's a casement window that will resemble a double hung window like the other ones in the house.
Yep,
Okay.
Correct.
yep, to try to match as close as we can.
So it's just the one window that will be going in place of the 2.
It will be just the one window and a tad bit larger in size.
So the renderings look like there are 2 different size windows. So I was trying to
Okay,
understand, I think based on your description, it's the second rendering that is the one, but
We're trying to gain the 5.7 square feet, and there was different for different sizes, and the best option that the Duluth Lumber gave me that would fit in that pocket would have been the one casement window, 48 inches high by, what's that, Katie, 32 wide it says on there? I can't see it. on my
yes.
phone. To meet the egress code of 5.7.
So I suppose there were 2 options, like, because you can do different sizes. And so that was probably drawn up with 2 options as to what you thought looked best, but they both fit the code. But the
Yeah,
idea is 48 by 32.
is seems to be the most proper fit for that room.
And is that the second image then?
I'm sure it's, I don't know if it's labeled,
Or
but
is
the
that the
image
first one?
probably was
It's-
labeled.
I don't see it labeled, which is why, scooch down just a
It's
tad
an
more.
E-series, so it's
That's,
the blue lumber said they do it the same window,
Right there, a little bit
you know,
more.
mostly
more.
everywhere, and it meets
There.
code.
that's 15 square feet. 3 feet by 5 feet window of a casement is like close to 15 square feet. So that 32 by 68 gives you a double hung that would achieve the 5.7. You don't need it to be a casement. Or you can reduce the size of the casement substantially.
Can you hear that, Gare?
Say it again, Katie?
Nick's saying you can make it a smaller window. It doesn't have to be
Oh,
a
we can-
casement. Is that correct?
okay.
And a double hung versus,
Yeah,
casement,
those are the
unless-
minimums for a double hung, which, might be too big for that surface, just looking at the elevations. But if you were to go with a casement to get the minimum egress dimensions, I think you could go quite a bit smaller.
Okay. Nick's saying we can go smaller than what we have. That right now, the way it's measured, it's too large.
Well, yeah, I mean, staff can back this up if I'm correct here, but
Mhm.
you need 5.7 square feet of clear opening. A 3 foot by 5 foot tall window is going to be 15 square feet. If it's a casement that cranks out, you can probably go to a third of that area, more or less, and have something that's might fit in that space a little bit more,
So maybe it could match the size of the windows to the left
possibly.
if it's casement
Or-
and still,
Yeah, or maybe not match, but maybe
More
just find
scaled
something that
appropriate.
looks comfortable in that little space above that,
okay.
below that shed roof. And it matching or not is kind of their preference, but
Sure.
So if we use the same size window that's currently in the bedroom right now, and just move it east, would that be okay?
so that you don't have to redo the openings and the headers and stuff.
That would make it because right now that's two double hungs together. And that's why it's not egress. But if it was one window with the fake rail across there, that would make it egress. If we use the same size window.
I wouldn't do, I'm just kind of running with this one, but I wouldn't do the fake rail either. If it's going to be a casement,
let it be a
there's no
casement.
historical reason to try to trick
Oh, okay,
people walking by.
okay.
That's my
Okay.
personal 2
All
cents
right.
on that, but.
Yeah.
So they're saying there's no need for the fake rail.
Oh, okay, all right. We're just trying to get as close to the
Yeah,
existing. I want to keep it looking historical.
trying to match, we don't know. Okay,
yeah,
so-
that's up to you
Might be
if
your
you want it
preference.
to
Yeah,
have
that's
that.
preference.
That's totally up to you if you want to have it there or not. It's a new window. It does not have to match exactly what's there in terms of the rail. So for
Okay.
your visuals, aesthetics, you might want the rail there, but it's not mandatory. We wouldn't make you put a rail in there.
Okay, that's
If
helpful.
that gives you some other options in terms of
Okay.
what you're looking at window space-wise.
Okay. So moving forward, the suggestion would be to change the size of the windows that we proposed and just try to make it a single window to fit that space? Is that where we're at? I don't know.
It looks like you could end up with one that's probably more appropriately scaled for that space because you do have the shed roof as well as the entry from the first floor below. I think what Nick's saying too is that the window that you're proposing may be overly large for the space.
Yes.
Meaning that it doesn't just meet it, it like wildly exceeds what you need in that space for
Yes.
an egress,
Okay,
which
Yeah.
gives you options.
okay. So, okay, maybe the window company, Just have them come back and give
They
us.
might have been thinking double hungs, which is why you need, because double hungs, only half of it opens at a time.
Okay,
Which
So,
means
'cause
your opening would only be the
Yeah.
bottom half of the window or
makes
the
sense.
top half
Mallory,
of
if
the-
you scroll down, I think they were showing the calc right there.
Okay, there's the casement.
Did you hear that, Gare?
Pardon? Say it again?
There's-
I couldn't hear you.
That we can make the window far smaller because it's not gonna be a double hung where it only opens on the lower half. If you have
Yeah.
a window that opens all the way, then you don't need such a large window.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Okay,
I'm just wondering if we could clarify with Dan, if Dan would happen to know, what is the minimum opening that you'd need to have for an emergency, a window in that kind of a location?
Yeah, and I think they're correct in what they have in their application, 5.7 square feet of clear, and we're talking clear when it's open at 90 degrees, the space that's required for somebody to get out of there. So when the window opens at 90 degrees, that's gonna kind of stick out into the window opening a little bit. So it won't be a perfect 3 by 5. It might be a little bit bigger than that. And I think if you're looking for something to meet the minimum, you might also want to kind of look for something that meets the height and width ratios that you're already seeing on this elevation, if you know what I'm saying. A window that's kind of the same ratio of width to height to kind of fit into that area.
okay. And then maybe part of that would be where the header is located inside of the home, and I think
Yeah.
that might have a little something to do with why the measurements are that way. I don't,
That could very well, that could be.
We need room to put a header over it.
a header and then 24 inches from the floor, I feel like was a factor. I don't know.
Correct, and something to,
Throwing out numbers.
something that might help you too is that, you're on the gable end of the house, so there's not gonna be a lot of weight, so your header can be minimal.
Okay,
That's good news.
okay.
So Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you need 24 inches minimum height and 20 inches minimum width. Not in combination, but those are your minimum opening sizes, and they have to add up to a clear opening of 5.7.
Right, just to use real rough numbers, 2 by, if you do a 2 by 3 or 2 feet wide by 3 foot tall, you're talking about 6 square feet. You might have to go just a little bit more because of that issue that I talked about when the window's at 90 degrees.
And Dan, is there a question of being close to the floor in the room?
There is not an issue there because if it's within 24 inches of the floor, the window will come with a limiter, which limits it to an opening of 4 inches without having to release that lever to get out of the space.
Okay,
That's, yeah, a child safety thing, so if it's lower than that, so that kids can't open and,
Okay.
sorry, kids can't open and fall out.
Okay,
Yeah, we can, at the building department, we can help her with those little details.
great.
so it does not have to have a minimum distance from the floor of
That's
24?
correct.
Okay,
As long as it's tempered, right? It has to be tempered?
Depending on the size, but
It's like 8
I
inches,
don't think
I
you're
thought.
gonna be, it has to be 9 square feet before it's gotta be tempered.
9 square feet. Okay. Going forward, what do we do? Submit new drawings?
So this is another one where I would suggest, we've got options. So table it.
Okay,
We can table it with, we don't want to hold you up for a whole month. So we either,
that's our concern.
yeah. I don't know how the commission feels about staff approval on a window, or how we would feel about a special meeting. That would be the other option. Otherwise, it'll be July 6th.
I don't have a problem with staff approval.
Yeah, I was kind
If
of
we
thinking.
give her parameters.
Yep. Kind of pick the type.
If,
and-
if staff doesn't have trouble with staff approval.
Yeah.
I'm looking at two
Nope.
police,
Yeah, I will do anything to
That's
make it
fine.
happen, so,
and so will we.
okay, thanks.
That's fine. Should we leave it with, so we need
Uh,
to approve the,
Well,
what do you want to do?
we can make it staff approval, but I think, do we want to put some parameters around it in terms of materials? I just want to double check where we are material-wise with the window, because that's one thing that we did not discuss.
Right, so this calls out an Anderson model. On the previous meeting that we had with you guys,
Mhm.
is this the same type of window that we had talked about for,
Same, everything,
for
yep.
that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, sounds like it's a window type that we already approved, so if we keep the parameters to the same type for this one, I'm comfortable with that.
One other thing that I'm hearing from you is that you would like it to be the smallest window that looks like it fits there, but while still meeting the minimum egress requirements.
Scaled appropriately, meeting the minimum egress requirements with the same window type as used in previously approved COAs. That would be my request for a motion, which I am not allowed to make.
Okay. And then, when submitting something like this, how does that work?
So you would submit your revised window
Okay,
to these guys. Actually,
okay.
To
actually to
Mallory.
Anna,
Yeah.
who's
Okay.
brand new.
Anna,
But
welcome.
yes,
Hey, we're gonna
so-
vote something first.
So I would say like the trifecta here is where
Yes.
we would go with that. And then,
Okay.
and then they would work together to gain you staff approval for it
Okay,
and be able to answer any questions that you have as you're kind of narrowing it down.
okay, that works for me.
So is our motion to approve pending staff approval? Is that where we're headed, or?
I would say yes, as long as the caveats for size and massing and the size, scale, massing, and previous window selection
Okay,
consistency are in the motion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'll move to approve the application for a certificate of appropriateness for 237 West 11th as submitted with the staff approval of the final size and materials of the window based on local guidelines and Secretary of Interior Standard 9, I believe. And do we still want to read the whole standard, or can we just refer to it?
It might be good for Anna to hear the standards deployed.
Sure. Okay, let me make sure yes. Standard 9, which reads, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment.
Excellent. Do we have a second? Any comments before we put it to a vote?
I have one quick comment, just to
Yep.
make sure that the rail is optional.
okay,
Thank you. So we'll add the caveat then that the rail is optional and up to the homeowners if they choose to have that as part of their aesthetic in that window or not. Okay. I will start the roll call. Cook is absent. Fowler? Lambers?
Approve.
Nieves? Approve. Rolinski?
Approve.
Shea?
Approve.
Ike, I also approve, so motion passes.
thank you to everyone. I appreciate your patience with this process and look forward to probably seeing you again in the near future.
Very good.
Great.
Take care.
Thank you. You're welcome. Next up is a COA for 300 South River Avenue. So Mike O'Connor from Elsingham Volkers Construction is here to talk about Herrick District Library.
How's everyone doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, so a few months ago, Herrick District Library sent out RFP for their employee entrance. Currently, has a small, it's about a 7x7 canopy. As seen in the picture, right now it's being supported by the building itself. And over the years, it has started to fail structurally, as you can see in that. It's supposed to be leaning towards the building into the gutter. It is now leaning away from the building. The support really wasn't, it's way too shallow of a rise in the support for it to hold structurally the way it is, causing cracks in the facade. That's limestone facade. It's caused cracks all the way up, as you can see. So they came to us to basically rebuild it. They like the look of it. You know, they want to go back to the same exact look, but without causing a lot of aesthetic change with how it's mounted to the building. Engineering wise, we figured that the best way to go would be for it to be self-supported, meaning 2 supports in the ground, which branch out. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can see where it branches out. Everything would, the awning, the canopy itself would look identical to what it is, except for the 2 supporting structures.
And the size will stay the same?
The size, the depth of it from the building is identical. The size left to right is growing 6 inches.
To support the structure?
So we don't hit the sidewalk, basically. And then we're going back and repairing the cracks in the facade.
Do you have to use liquid limestone, or is there something better than that?
What's been recommended is to use a color matched grout, basically, and we'd go back and it might, from our experience, it might take a few attempts to get the right color, but we're gonna go back a few attempts. I mean, do it as best we can. And as you can see in that, I mean, what's there has been, it's rusting, falling apart, kind of. So it's gonna be galvanized and then painted with the appropriate paint to last.
So the whole thing, including like the current downspout and all of that, is coming off and being replaced new as well?
So that current downspout, we are going to use the same, to be honest, we're probably not going to be able to use the same downspout. We're going to replace it, but it's the same style downspout.
Is the discoloration in the limestone around there just from moisture collecting in that roof system all the time?
Yeah, from it not draining properly. I think there's been a lot of, because it has not drained, there's a lot of splashing onto the building. So we are cleaning it. Everything's going to be cleaned, and basically we want it to look like the rest of the building instead of that darker color that's around it right now.
And what you're doing doesn't get into their camera system at all? I know they've got a camera right underneath there too, so that's not.
Nope, the
that doesn't
elevation's gonna be the
interrupt any of
same.
that?
Nope.
Okay.
In fact, right now, as you can see the discoloration below the gutter currently, the new canopy is gonna incorporate an internal gutter. It's gonna be the same canopy, but that horizontal gutter below is gonna be incorporated into it. So that transfer of water from the canopy to the gutter is not gonna exist. It's gonna be
A cleaner look, so it'll
a
just
cleaner
basically
look.
be canopy and then
downspout.
downspout.
There'll be nothing below. So really, there'll be less, there won't be as much near that camera.
We're so used to looking at residential that I admit feeling a little out of sorts when
Well,
we have to
we're
look at a
all-
commercial building.
I know. So how will it be, I'm just curious, how will it be, I mean, now it's got those big angles that come down to affix it to the building, but how will it be affixed to the building? I understand that structurally supported, it'll be in the 2 stanchions that come down into the ground with the
Yep.
concrete, but how will it be actually affixed to the
It's gonna be,
surface?
the engineer suggested caulk and properly flash just onto the roof of the canopy. The building's not gonna have any structural integrity to the canopy whatsoever. We just, we gotta make sure the water sheds onto the canopy, that's
Right.
it.
Seems pretty straightforward. Does anybody have any additional questions?
I just wondered if Nick or if anyone else had thoughts that, it doesn't seem like a significant change, but it's also not a house like we're used to dealing with. So any commercial thoughts that would,
Not really anything too important. I mean, so this is not gonna be designed to drain back toward the building anymore, right? That was the original design intent.
So it will,
It's,
the
the
structure
gutter's still
itself is,
inboard.
the structure itself is going to be completely straight on with the building. There's a galvanized deck that's color matched that is going to be slanted towards the internal gutter,
Okay.
which will drain down, the water will drain down the downspout. Because currently, everyone's getting protection until they walk outside of the canopy, then they're gonna hit with water.
Is it possible to invert that so that the water actually drains away from the building, even on that galvanized deck, and the gutter is outboard instead of resting up against the wall? Just so that if.
I think the main, just reason they didn't want to change that is the amount of holes that are currently in the limestone from the gutter currently. They don't want to get rid of that,
Okay.
that gutter.
It just seems like not a good idea to run water back toward the building. And I think this building is 22 years old, and this design has already caused problems. And so if it were an easy swap to run the water away from the building and then down a downspout, that seems like that's
Yeah,
better, gives the limestone a better chance of survival long-term with splashing and with leaves building up and
Yeah, and I think,
moisture and,
I mean, we may try to shed the water once it's down the downspout away better.
well, of course, but
Yeah,
I'm
and
talking about up on top of the canopy itself.
So what was your concern though? The
So right now, the water lands on the canopy and it washes back toward the building and goes into the gutter right next to the wall of the building. And if it were easy enough, could the slope actually go away from the building?
So, mistake me if I'm wrong, interpreting what you're saying wrong, but that water is never gonna, it's gonna be separated from that building by quite a bit.
By caulk and flashing?
No. The gutter now is internal in the canopy.
Okay.
So the
By a
roof sits
foot?
down, the roof sits down about 2 inches
Okay,
into that, so it's never gonna make contact with that building.
so it's
gonna
like
hit
a foot away from the limestone?
Not a foot, but it's never gonna make actual contact or
Okay.
even close to contact. It's gonna hit the,
So it'll hit the
canopy itself.
downspout before
it's
it'll
gonna hit the down,
Right.
the gutter is inside, I mean, you have about 4 inches of back wall to the canopy that will hit before.
Before the trough or
Yeah.
the gutter?
Yep.
Gotcha. That was my only kind of question, but
it seems intuitive to try to move the water away instead of toward.
that's the wisdom of all the old houses we always look at.
Yep. Every porch, every.
Yeah, and we discussed many different ways of shedding it, and they just didn't want a downspout. They don't
Out.
want posts on the far side of it, so that's why we incorporated just the 2 center
Sure.
posts. And
Was
then,
that just their creative, they just didn't want to see posts out at the corners?
well, I mean, really the staff, they just don't want that thing to fall on them. That was the major concern,
work
or
for that.
water, so. But we want to keep, I mean, the main thing is to not have that building support it anymore and to keep that limestone from cracking further.
Any other unresolved questions?
I move to approve the application for certificate of appropriateness as submitted and per testimony for 300 River Avenue, based on local guidelines and Secretary of Interior's standard number 9, again, which reads, "New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, or spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment."
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll support that.
Thank you. Any comments? Any additional clarifiers? Okay, I'll put it to vote. Cook is absent. Feller? Lambers,
Approve.
Nieves,
Approve.
Rolinski,
Approve.
Shay.
Approve.
Ike, I also approve, so motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
So moving right along, next item is a COA for 218 West 10th Street for Jeff Eberhart. So, are you Jeff?
Yeah, my name's Jeff.
Great, come on up.
This is my
Hello,
wife right
everyone.
here, Penny.
Hello.
My name
So-
is Kenneth Gibble. I'm kind of doing the work on his
On the
house.
house. Dan, this is a little more complicated one. So do you or Mark want to kind of give us a lowdown of the specifics on this house? Or I can read through what is in here, but I know the siding is a little bit unique to a lot of the houses that we typically end up seeing. And I want to make sure that I fully understand. The packet was really thorough, and so I understood kind of what your plans are. But what I understand, I want to make sure that we are hearing you correctly on what you're planning to do.
Okay.
Keep scrolling here. So from what I understand, the specific siding is one that's asphalt siding with a brick pattern, so it's really
Yes.
unique. There aren't a lot of them around. It's also not available anymore, from
Right.
what we understand as a commission, and I believe you
Right.
guys have done some digging too, and have found that that's not available anymore. The siding is deteriorating, and that during a home inspection, because it's a rental property, that the city found that the broken loose and missing asphalt siding is a violation of the housing code. And so it's at a point now where the last inspection showed that the deterioration needs to be taken care of.
Yes.
So what we understand your proposal is to remove the first 12 to 15 inches of this siding
It's-
and cover it. So I'll let you
Yes.
fill in from here.
The picture we're looking at here is the driveway side, which is the house is would be on the south side of the road. And that would be the west side of the house. On the two sides of the house that you can see from the front of the house, because there's fence, that fence is in the backyard. Siding was damaged. If you look at other pictures, you can see it's damaged up that far real bad, where there's no way to really fix it without putting like a freeze board out there. So the idea is we're gonna take that off, and any pieces that are good, that I'm taking off, I'm gonna use to patch in other areas that aren't good. So we don't have to tear all of it off. And then, where it's gonna go across the front, that goes up 13 inches on both sides. And then on the front, where it goes over the front porch, which is a cement porch, it only has to go up 4 inches, and that's where they tie in at the same point for the side. So if you're looking at it from the curb view, it all looks the same ties in at
It's
the
all
same
the same
point.
horizontal plane.
Yes, yes. And it'll go and be on, to the top of the porch, of the cement porch. And then behind the fences in the backyard, where you can't see from the front, it's not damaged near as far up. So I believe that was 8 inches. I forget exactly, I forgot my paperwork in the car, but I believe you have it on what I turned in there, submitted, that it's gonna go up 4 inch, or 6 or 8 inches, I believe, in the back. And that's gonna wrap around and all be tied in at the same height on the back. And what I'm using is a 4x8 sheet of wood siding, and using a metal Z flashing. So the Z flashing would tuck up underneath the existing siding and then go over top the wood siding. So there's a seal there, so weather can't get behind it.
What, if I could ask, why plywood?
Well, it's a wood siding.
Okay.
Because it'd be to put actual, solid wood there, of like pine or whatever. With the price of wood right now, it's
Okay.
just ridiculous cost on what, I looked at, and I forget exactly what the numbers were. But
Sure. What about, have we approved an AZEC or something like that in the past? Can someone recall for trim
I wanted to
boards?
use actual siding, something that was labeled as a siding.
Okay.
It's like
to
an
do that,
LP,
and it
LP
has the
Smart
wood grain.
Side or
I think
Hardy
we have.
board
Yeah, it
or
has the
something
wood
like that is
grain
kind
and-
of what you're
I think
looking
we
at, right?
I think we
It's
have
like a wood
sparingly.
composite, yeah.
I think not that anything, each home is individual, so regardless of what we've approved on previous ones,
Okay.
I know we have occasionally, and I mean like a handful of times in all my time on the commission, ever approved like a hardy board or anything like that.
For siding, which is what this
It was-
is. I guess you could argue it's a trim board, but it's so wide that it would seem like
Well, it's considered a freeze,
freeze.
Yeah, it's
freeze
Okay.
board there.
Okay,
It is typically a little wider than what you use for a freeze board.
Sure.
But with the two-story of the house, I figured it dimensionally, it looks, that's why I put one piece up, just so you could see exactly
Okay.
what idea and how I was installing it.
and do you feel like the plywood would be as long-lived as
Oh, yeah,
something else?
yeah, as long as as long as I apply it properly, like
It's-
I am with the Z-board,
and
with
it's-
moisture and stuff, it's all painted all the way around on all edges, and primed and painted.
Primed.
And then got the Z-board there for flashing, so, to keep the water from getting behind it.
Okay, good.
And this work is in process or already completed, or,
No, I just put the
Proposed.
one up, I took off the rows around the house.
just to show it?
And then I was told that I couldn't go any further.
Yeah, okay.
And so they said, don't do nothing else. I said, I'm gonna put one piece up, just the one piece, so you would have a visual of how it actually is gonna look. I mean, I could take that down, it's only temporarily up right now,
No, it's a helpful visual, I was just clarifying.
yes.
Whether we're approving something that's already, occasionally work gets done and then
Right, I
comes to us
didn't wanna go-
afterwards, and that's a whole different
Yeah.
ball of wax.
Right,
So
I didn't wanna
just
go
wanna
any
make sure.
further, I put up one piece and,
And it looks like, based on what you pulled off, that the original siding must have been wood.
no, what underneath is wood.
Yeah.
And what, it looks, to be honest, it looks pretty decent underneath, but you can't tell. Once you get around windows and stuff on, up higher on the house, it may be in real bad condition,
Yeah.
I had the same experience. I live on Washington and 12th, and I took off vinyl siding, and I found that the only siding that was really damaged was right at the bottom where splashing occurred.
Right.
So the way I think it's called brick coat is the
Right.
type of siding. The way it's damaged, I would suggest that the wood below is probably damaged, but maybe the rest is not. Is that something you would consider doing, exposing the wood and having wood siding again?
It'd be just the cost of painting and trimming the windows to make them all look appropriate.
Sure.
and everything to the, that's like, I think I measured it's like 3/8 of an inch thick, that existing siding.
Sure. The brick coat?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So then, it'd be a matter, like I say, it'd be taking off whatever aluminum wrap they got on the windows now and configuring it so it does look all appropriate in dimension.
I just wonder, because my experience was that it looked pretty good once I got the vinyl off.
Right.
And it was a very
That's-
old vinyl
I
job.
men-
It
I
had been done.
mentioned that to Jeff, I just didn't.
Okay.
I don't know,
Yeah. Well,
and I didn't want to tear off a bunch more up top
Right.
and find,
Yeah, it's always a
And be-
surprise.
I recall, doing the same thing, kind of peeking
Right.
behind it.
Right.
But as I moved up, it got much better.
Right.
And of course, it's been covered by something else,
Right.
in this case, brick coat for,
The
I
thing
would
is
guess
that
50
you can
years or
notice
more.
the one window up top.
Uh-huh.
In this picture here,
Way up top.
around it, I'm sure all the wood around that. We were gonna redo that window, and he's got to have it repainted or wrapped. But I believe if I take all the siding off of there, I'm sure that it's bad around that window, seeing the condition of the jamb of that window, the casing of it.
I remodeled my house inside, all the way inside, for like $8,000.
Yeah.
I would like to put siding on it, but I don't have the money for it. My son lives there.
Right now, the house is listed as a rental. That's why we're here. But there's nobody there that rents, actually. His son is there. But the house is paid for through his mom. And his son doesn't really pay rent there. But he's thinking about maybe putting his son on the title
This,
with
we
him
talked
and his
about this.
wife.
Yeah, we did talk about this because,
And then maybe he could get help with the city to side it. You know what I mean? But they said they couldn't help as long as it's a rental.
It's true. If you are the homeowner living in the house, and Dan, check me here, but if you're the homeowner living in the home, there are funds that you can apply for to help you with home improvement.
Right.
I can put my son on the deed. He's the one that lives there.
He's the one that lives there. His son, him and his wife live in another
Put it on
residence.
apartment.
And if he applied then if he was the one who was listed as the owner and applied for help from the city to access some of those funds, those are things that may be available to him. I'm
Right,
looking
that's-
to Dan for
'Cause that
guidance
was
here,
our
but that's the way
option.
I
That was our
understand it.
option to do next.
If we couldn't get this passed to do what we're doing, then that would be the next option. If we could, we want to know what we had to do.
I
we-
want to improve it, I'd like to have a nice house like all the neighbors have. Have a nice siding.
Well, those programs are fantastic programs for homeowners in order to help them with,
I've checked into a
with
couple like
items like
home
that.
court and,
Yeah,
yeah.
but the ones through the city for help with home improvements that way, I know have helped out a number of families who
Right.
are looking to
Can I
make
put my
improvements.
son on the deed then?
Well, yeah,
If
I
the
can't
owner,
really-
if the owner of the house is living in the house,
Yes,
then
he's the
yes,
one
those
that
are
needs
certainly,
to-
And if he's listed as the owner of the house and he applies for it, then,
Aye.
Mhm.
'Cause we-
And if you want him to have, and if you want his name on the deed, I mean, then
yeah,
he'll-
that's
his name will be on the deed.
we're not making, yeah,
yeah, that's another
that's a,
question.
Yeah, but, you're putting somebody else on the deed, wouldn't they have some, I mean, that's a big decision.
right.
Right.
That's
agreed.
something
Yeah,
you'll need
we're-
to contemplate.
I told them to get a lawyer and decide what they wanted to do and find out.
Yeah, do not take our advice on that one. That
Yeah,
is
we're not giving
entirely
legal
up to
advice.
you. I
Alright,
remember it came up as a homeowner request versus a rental when
Yeah.
accessing funds from the city.
But here's why it's worth talking about that, even though we're a little out of our element, is that it could be that this work, you'd be working against yourself. If this work then has to be reversed in order to take the siding off and expose the
Right.
wood, or put new wood, or
Right.
repair the wood or something, then,
Right.
do you want to really put a lot of money into this, what
We're not-
looks like kind of a
Yes,
quick
sir.
fix?
Right. I was just, when I was asked to help out and
Sure.
help him out,
Sure.
I know he don't have a lot of money. I've known him for quite some time, and I
Yeah.
thought, well, I can help you out, and we can. And then, now that this come up, we're trying to do it to satisfy the committee here.
Sure.
And still be able for him to be able to do this. You know what I mean?
Well, and
whatever's
Mr.
possible.
And
so.
Mr. Eberhard, it sounds like, especially the fact that you've put some real energy and time into the interior of the home, as a commission, we wouldn't want you to make a decision on the outside that you wouldn't be happy with, because obviously
Right.
you've put some energy into the home.
Yes,
And
I
you've
put a
put
lot
some
of money.
sweat equity and money, and so
Yes.
we wouldn't want you to be in a position where you were making a quick fix decision on something that is, when you have put some real energy into the
Right.
interior.
And it's getting it all paint,
Yep.
all sides getting all painted out there, all around the trim, all around the
So-
windows.
I
Okay.
also know that as a commission, I'll speak on behalf of the commission, but it's also hard to, the goal is obviously for us to help homeowners figure out how to retain the integrity or adapt homes to fit like what they need currently. I mean, these
Right.
homes were built 100-some years ago, so needs change.
Right.
I don't think that long-term you would be happy with the temporary solution, especially if you're investing in the house.
Right, trying to make it real nice.
Right.
And my fear is that you would spend time and money now that,
In 10 years, that siding may even get worse. What
yeah,
is
who
there.
knows what that'll, since that,
Right.
it's.
Well, and it's not a type of siding that was original to the house, certainly. It was a
Right.
much
Yeah.
later
Right.
concept, and it didn't hold up as a
Right.
concept. so-
Otherwise, it would still be findable, and it's not.
Yes, I agree.
Would we be
Kim?
helping you a bit if we tabled this for a month and to let you
Could we-
consider?
And we could research on either tearing it all off and painting
Right.
it, if
Yeah.
the wood's
Whether- yes,
good,
'cause-
or re-siding it.
We can do that.
Because I
mean,
could
we-
check areas that I think might be a problem. You know what I mean? Take off areas that I think, and if they're
Right.
not bad or
If they're not
fixable,
bad, maybe
and
you want to
not too
proceed.
bad of a deal, just,
And would that even need our approval to remove siding that isn't historic and to repair siding that is
Yes, we
historic?
would still need to come before
We
us.
would still want to see it.
Yep.
We
Yes.
could see that next month.
Yeah,
yeah, that would give us definitely enough time to take care of, you know, to have a solution that he'd be happy with, you know. I just, like he says, you know, he wants a nicer home, he wants it to look nice,
And
he's
the
putting money
neighbors too,
into it.
you know. Like
I-
have a house
yeah.
like in Sausage, right? Yeah.
I think
We
if
all
he
do.
did, I think if he
Yeah.
did that, then it could also afford him the opportunity to look into this whole
Yeah.
issue of potentially putting your son on the deed.
Yes.
I can
And
do
we
that.
could have some discussion with some folks and see once if that makes a difference, that could open some other
Yes,
funding
and
doors.
funding for him,
the
yeah.
city has a lot of resources, even in terms of just considering some
Yeah,
of
my
those
dad went through
options.
it a lot,
Yeah,
you guys.
Yeah, because I got the email saying that he was turned down for funding because there's a rental house, and I talked to him, and he said, well, no, nobody's renting here. Just Jacob, his son is living there. And I thought, well, then maybe you can do something legally to change that and not be labeled a rental house and get some help.
well, and you might decide to approach both, right? You might look into if that's something, a change that you would want to make to the deed of the house, again, up to you. But at the same time, you may take a look at some of those other areas on the home. I mean, I see like that one image where you were showing me the upstairs
Right.
window. Underneath the eave, you know, I see wood siding in there too. So
Yes.
it's like some of these, you know, you
Yes.
might want to peek at what's under there and it may be better protected, to John's
Right.
point, than you might expect. And it might be some
'Cause he hadn't-
boards and a coat of paint, and you might be shocked. Who knows? I would love it
He-
if you were pleasantly surprised.
Right. He had mentioned too about his son, that he was planning on selling, before any of this come up, he had mentioned to me about selling the house to his son, because his son lives there. And he was talking about just outright selling the house to his son, and I told him, that's probably not a good idea because of the way the market is right now. You know, it's a seller's market, he's talking about selling it, what he paid for it. You know what I mean? It'd be much better for him, I think, just put his son on the deed with him, and then down the road, you know, if they wanted to sell it, they can make a profit, you know, or
Right.
something
Well,
like that. But
that's something
he
that you
doesn't really
could
want to sell
decide
it, they
if you
want to
were-
keep the house. you
Yeah,
know?
if you were comfortable with. But what we could do, because I think you'll probably have a hard time getting this temporary solution approved with the commission, is we could table it for a month and give you some time, Mr. Eberhart, to figure out what you're comfortable with in terms of next steps.
All right,
But I need to know that that's what you're comfortable with.
yeah, it'd be nice to have, really.
Yeah,
signing.
yeah.
So if you're comfortable with that, tabling it until next month, which will be July 6th, I'll get somebody to make a motion.
Hey, ma'am,
Yeah,
I'm going on vacation July 4th for about 2 weeks.
lucky you.
Wait a minute, what's vacation? I've forgotten.
So, yeah, I'm like,
Can I,
I won't be here.
He's-
I'm leaving on the 4th to the 16th.
so what we can do is we'll table it, and then when you've let us know you're not gonna be here on the 6th, we'll table it again till the following
are
month.
are you going with them too? or-
She's
Oh,
going
okay.
with me.
So that effectively, but we need to bring it up again next, we can't just automatically table it for 60 days. So we'll bring it up again at the next month's meeting, and we'll table it because you'll be out of town. And then,
Do I have to be here then for it to be
Does
tabled
it?
again, or?
I might be wrong, hang
Did I
on.
say it wrong?
I may have said it wrong.
No,
No,
Looks like we can table it too.
can we table it 2 months? I thought we could only table it 1. I may be wrong. Oh, we can. Yes, we can absolutely table it for 2 months. I'm wrong, thank you.
Does that sound-
Thanks. So, table it in just 2 months, give you enough time to,
Yeah,
okay. So if you're,
thank you, ma'am.
yeah, of course.
Anybody else?
So,
right.
thanks. Does somebody
Yeah.
want to make the motion since
I
I'm
will,
motion free?
I will put my son on the deed, okay?
This
Well,
is up,
well,
that's a
we'll
decision
take it
that
all.
you
Okay.
decide. I
got time to
want you to
look
know
into it
that
and find
you've got options with the city so that you have an understanding of what's available to a homeowner. And, and you might do some more work on the house and take a look at what the condition underneath this particular type of siding is and make a decision based on that. That gives you some breathing room to do that.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll move to table the review of the application for a certificate of appropriateness for 2 months, to give the homeowner time to review some options.
Support.
Any other final comments?
Yeah, I'm just wondering from a timing perspective, if you do explore this and decide, yeah, we would like to remove this, what's it called, brick coat?
That's a brand name, but I think it's the one.
We'd probably, if he decides to probably leave the brick coat and go over it with a insulating.
Oh, you'd do a vinyl on top of it, you think?
Yeah,
or?
probably put an insulator over that.
I guess, yeah, one thing I was wondering is if you did want to pull it off and reveal the wood, which I think is what kind of was, you were driving at a little bit, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 months of summer good weather time. And by the time this comes around in August, you're already looking kind of toward the end of summer. So I'm just asking the question. I don't have a good answer for staff, but is there a administrative way to say, yes, you have a green light to, if you decide to pull the brick coat off, you have a green light to do that?
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Because I think the commission would I think the commission would by and large support pulling the brick coat off, revealing the wood underneath.
Preferably, that would be even if you decide, it would be to pull that off.
Yeah, you don't want that
If
more.
it's deteriorating underneath,
Why, you wouldn't want to put something new on top of something deteriorating.
Right, that would be could we do that? We'll give,
Dan, do you see any reason why we couldn't? With staff, could we do it with
I could see approving procedurally the removal of the brick coat and repair and repaint of the existing substructure siding.
okay.
If it's in good enough condition, if it's not, then they'll come back with an alternative.
Yeah, if it's
That-
like for like, so if it's a pull off of the brick coat with a repair wood with wood,
Okay, yeah.
we can't tell you what color to paint it. You can paint it hot pink if you like, but
No, somebody write that down, please. Kim Ike said,
I said we can't tell you what to paint it. But I think that's I think that would be a good way for you to explore pulling off what is there and with a possible repair. And if you get into it and you cannot repair what's underneath there, or the wood is so deteriorated, you'd need to come back before the commission.
Okay.
Okay.
For
So
approval
maybe-
of other sidings.
Yes.
Yeah.
For approval of what you'd like
Basically, I
decided.
could take that brown off and
Yes, that's what we
Yes.
I wanna know. Good.
completely strip it,
That's what I
the
wanted.
brick
And
off.
find out what really is hiding. It might be a beauty under there.
Oh,
You just don't
it'd be
know.
gorgeous if there's not a lot of
Yeah.
damage, really.
It might just be
It's
the
a
wood
brand new
tone.
roof on there.
Yeah.
10 years ago, 12 years ago, my dad had put on.
So let's amend our motion.
Exactly what wording do we want on that? I just don't want to write too big of a blank check to
Yep.
tear off, redo, patch, paint without it coming
Without
past
coming
our.
back to at least,
yeah, I think you
Could
want
we get it okay to take it off, and then once we take it off and decide, before we do anything, put anything back or anything to come and get it okayed that way?
yeah, I think we could do that.
Yeah, you can give the approval for the removal of it, and if they're gonna keep it like for like, usually the board doesn't usually have a lot to say about that, like for like.
Mhm.
So you could take off this brick coat, repair, without additional approval, repair, repaint, everything. If you're going to put a different material on, be it vinyl siding, be it some other type of product on there, different than what's already hanging on the building right now, then the board would need to come back.
The same with
Okay.
around the windows and whatnot, if they have to
Yep.
do a different trim around the windows.
If I take the brick off and like the windows that are wrapped with the aluminum now, if that gets damaged and I take that off, and the wood is bad, can I just replace with the same wood to trim
Yeah,
on the
you
windows?
can replace like for like, meaning you can replace the exact material with the exact material.
Yes,
If it's
So wood
damaged.
for wood, if you pull the aluminum off and
Yeah.
the wood underneath is damaged, you need to replace with wood?
yes,
Wood
with
wood,
the
then
identical
yes.
material that is there, that is damaged there, but take it off and put the same wood, whether it's pine or,
Right,
whatever it
and
may
similar
be.
configuration, similar
Right.
size. So
Right.
even though you replace them with wood, you can't, put trimmer on the window that
No,
is
no.
8 inches wide, but,
right. If I put a if I
Very
take a
similar to what
1x4
is
off,
there.
I could put a 1x4 back on.
Correct.
yes, yep.
Okay, yes,
Similar in size, dimension,
yes.
materiality.
yes, yes.
Just for peace of mind, do we want to throw administrative approval
Yes,
on that?
yes.
Okay. All right, so amending to the motion to table, allowing the homeowner to remove the existing brick coat asphalt to reveal the wood siding underneath, and then allowing an opportunity to reach out to staff for administrative approval of patch and repair of like-for-like siding.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that way.
Yes.
If you do get into something and you need to replace wood,
Yes, I can get a hold
Then
of the
you can
committee
get a
or
hold
some of the
of-
city here and
yep,
have them take a look at it, and
yep.
as long as I'm using the same thing, it'll probably be okay. But if we have to use something different, then we'd have to be back here.
It also gives you an opportunity to get a quick answer. If you get into something, you're like, I
Yeah.
need to replace that. Okay, you don't need to wait 30 days to see us again, especially
Right.
because you'll be on holiday, so
Right.
you'll be able to get a quicker
Right,
response.
because I would hate to expose, interior wall or something or
Yep,
something.
so
and
would
not-
he. He's not looking too happy about that idea either, so.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'd need
Is that
a,
good with you?
yep. Okay, so we'd need a second.
I'll support the amended motion.
Any additional comments or questions before we put it to a vote? Okay, I will start. Cook is absent, so Fowler? Lambers?
Approve.
Nieves? Approve. Berlinski?
Approve.
Shea?
Approve.
Ike, I also approve, and motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Good, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for your
Thank you,
time.
guys.
Thanks for,
Thank you.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. We don't come across this one every day, so,
Right.
yeah.
It
Thank
will be
you.
pretty when we're done.
It's gonna be like, yay.
looking
that's a
forward to it.
Beautiful house.
Uh-huh.
Good.
I'll be looking
Thank
for
you,
it.
guys.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Have a good night. Okay, Nick is recusing himself from this next discussion, so Nick will call you back in when,
When we feel like it.
I didn't say that.
I know you
Feel
didn't.
sassy
If,
tonight.
I know.
if we feel like it.
If we feel like it's sassy. So next up is a COA for 240 West 9th, so for Jordy and Karen Fuentes. You want to come on up? Hi, Amy. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I'm Amy Aldering. Karen is also here, but I'm the builder who is representing them for this.
And I'm going to scroll down through here. Oops, here we go. And there are a number of items
Yes.
on the list. And I'm trying to figure out if we just want to start. So I'm going to read through what the items are, and then I know what usually works best is if we have kind of a loose discussion about it, big picture, and then we kind of take it in bites and pieces, because then we can answer specifics and get things rolling. You know how this works. We
Okay.
see you a lot. So there is a revised foundation materials. There's a removal of the chimney. There's a revision of basement windows. There's an additional west dormer. There is a back door that would be requested to be shifted to the east of the building. There's a rear upper porch door and window arrangement that needs to be reconsidered. And then we had approved windows and doors that were Colby, and now you'd like to use Anderson. Is that
Yes,
in a nutshell?
correct.
Okay. Do you want to give us a little bit of the background on like all the
Yeah.
things you're working on in the house? Because it's always good to hear from you, kind of where
Sure.
you're starting from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Fuentes have been working on this for at least a year and have come to you for a number of things, so I know you're familiar with it. We got to that point with me where it was looking into a little more of the nitty gritty, like how can we remove some of the slope in this floor while we're doing all this other work? How can we keep things from leaning? How can we finish this space in the basement for your son? And looking into all those things, getting the foundation looked at by masons, just kind of led us to the point where with the huge investment they're making, it seemed to make more sense to put a new foundation under the home. So the proposal is that a house moving company would come in, lift the house up in place, put a new foundation, poured wall foundation underneath, set the house back down. So the house doesn't, there was a question I saw in the packet about how high would the house be. It wouldn't be substantially higher or lower. It's just that it gets lifted in place to do the work and then set back down.
So in order to achieve the height in the basement that you need to achieve, you'll just go deeper deeper
Yes.
into the ground underneath? 'Cause
Yes.
What's the floor in the basement now? Is it finished or is it not?
No, it's just a cement floor.
Okay.
Concrete floor.
Okay.
So the height is 6 feet 5 inches of headroom, so it's not anything that can be habitable. So then that kind of led to the discussion of if we're, and there is, with the soil boring, we have plenty of depth to go down before we hit any water. So we can put a nice, even 9-foot foundation if we wanted to for 9-foot height. So then it only seemed like if you're doing that, you obviously want some windows. You want the
Yeah.
potential to have a safe exit, so an egress window. So that's kind of where the basement windows and egress came in, was just that if we're putting a new foundation, we want to do those things. And then I'd say the other things just kind of are into the nitty gritty of the floor plan warranted a window here instead of there and a door to shift a little and that kind of thing. But the biggie is the foundation.
So I'm gonna jump ahead for a second. Chimney.
Mhm.
So I saw that, there's only one chimney on the house, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I saw in the notes too, in the packet, that you did not believe that the chimney was original to the house? Or that, was the chimney location original to the house, but the chimney
It's just
itself isn't original to the house?
the chimney above the roof line, I do not believe is original brick. So there's a different brick in the house, in the attic, and then once you get to the roof line, you get to a more modern looking brick.
So the chimney
So-
location is original, but the
I
chimney
believe so.
material itself, roof up, has been rebuilt at some point, you believe?
Probably. It never serviced a fireplace, it was a furnace
Yeah.
that it was servicing, yeah.
I had that same question, Kim.
Yeah, that was, whether it was placement or.
Whether there was a chimney or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have the exact same thing in our house.
Yeah.
So how would the commission like to dive into this?
I'm thinking we just take one thing at a time, talk about the foundation, and I think we can break it into separate motions too.
Yeah, which is my preference, because
Um,
then we can make forward movement for you, Amy, if there are things that hang us up. In the process, we can at least keep you moving forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and the application has it nicely spelled out into 7 different items.
Yep.
So I think we start there and just work our way down the list.
Okay, so let's start with the foundation first.
The talking through all the scenarios with all of the different people on the foundation, whether it be structural engineers, masons, poured wall people, it seemed like what we want to propose is that the 100-plus-year-old foundation that's stuck together, as my mason said, with imagination, that that foundation has lived its life, and that we put a new poured wall foundation, and it is what it is. When we looked at ideas of sticking veneers, sticking different blocks onto it, putting slurries on it, it kind of felt like we were just doing what it didn't seem like you guys usually wanted to do, of sticking things on it to make it look like something it wasn't. So I think our proposal is, it's a new foundation wall. It looks like there's been other times that that's been approved recently, that a poured wall is a poured wall. So that's what we wanted to do.
So how will the foundation wall be treated after? I mean, will it just be poured walls, or how will it be treated at all on the outside, or?
We would like to just do the poured wall.
Okay.
So the house on 11th and Van Raalte that
Yeah.
has the new front porch that has a poured wall, and that's what we're envisioning for this. More of this would be seen. The options from there, we were talking about, well, what if we put a slurry on it? But then our foundation guy was like, why are you sticking mortar
Stuff
on
a-
concrete? And if you guys really want it to look older, he can sandblast a little of the newness off it and accomplish what a slurry kind of accomplishes, in his opinion. And then the house next door, the house as it currently is, kind of already has this smoothish thing going.
So there is a note too here about the porch and the foundation for that, and the piers being different.
Yeah.
Some previous material that we had looked at, which could you remind me about what exactly material that was?
Those, I was not part of that,
Yeah.
but whatever they were, they looked like blocks.
It's kind of like a limestone stone block
Yes.
look, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
So still planning on that for
Yes.
the piers, and then kind of between the piers, the traditional new
Wall.
poured wall.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because it looks like it almost looks like there's, like the blocks literally just stacked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember being impressed with what stone product that was proposed previously.
Yeah, me too. Just because we come across those things we come across really good proposals on that so infrequently, and that is just so hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing any like front elevations, but that look, if you can remind me, right now we have 3 kind of columns and piers.
Yes.
Would that be the same kind of look and style
Yep.
that we'd have
Yep.
on this one as well?
Yeah, so the way I understand it, the items that were previously approved with that front elevation, the 3 piers, the
Yeah.
stairs coming off the front
Yeah.
instead of the side, that all stays the same.
Okay.
It's just the foundation wall itself would be different.
And
Okay.
the height of that new foundation would be the same or very, very
Yes.
similar, because you'd be going down
Correct.
with the basement.
Yep.
That was really my big question about it, because if you can go down to accomplish what you need and you don't run into the water table, then that keeps, we've all seen homes that have been brought up, and suddenly, it's like, oh, they've got an 8-foot ceiling
Yeah.
underneath their surprise, and the windows are,
Yeah.
it
No,
just
it-
looks like it's
Yeah.
floating above the basement structure.
Right, and, to put a new poured wall foundation, I don't want to see 4 or 5 feet of that.
Yeah.
But, if we're talking 18 inches, that's
Yeah.
another story in
I
my
don't
mind.
think I ever actually measured it, but I think it's about 24 inches. It's probably about 3 courses, yeah.
Yeah,
So
kind
I-
of looking at the pictures here.
3 to 4.
Those are helpful.
32, 4 courses.
Right. So it would still, yes, be in that 24 to 32 inch-ish height.
For me, in some ways, it's so simple when a homeowner is willing to go to those lengths to save the home. It seems so simple to me, but I just want to make sure that the commission doesn't have any questions about it, especially given the fact that that you have the ability to dig down in order to gain your height in the basement.
Yeah, I think my questions were visually and the height of it, you know. So visually, I think those piers in the front are really going to detract from any of the new foundation-ness of it, because that new stone product, looking at the porch with the stairs, you're not going to notice the foundation. Whereas
Nope.
if it was just one solid wall across the front, that's a different story. That would be something your eye would be drawn to. And the height, if you keep the height the same story, you're not going to notice that foundation as well if it's not super high. So I'm content.
Okay.
Any other questions on foundation? Otherwise, could make the motion.
I would go for it. I feel pretty good about it.
All right. All right.
So this is a good way to kind of chunk this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I move to approve the application for a certificate of appropriateness as submitted and per testimony for revised foundation materials, and with the poured with the piers being the stone product previously approved for the property at 240 West 9th Street. Based on local guidance and the Secretary of Interior Standard Number 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment.
I only have one comment, and that has to do with the dimensionality between the ground and how high the foundation actually is. I'm just making note of it, to make note of it, that you'll be digging down in order to achieve your height rather than going up and pushing the house up higher.
Correct.
Cool.
Yep.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay, put it to vote. Cook is absent. Fowler? Lambers?
Approve.
Nieves? Approve. Relinski abstains. Shay?
Approve.
Ike, I also approve, so one down.
Yay.
Okay.
More to go.
Yep,
All right.
cooking right along. Okay, so next up on this, I would
The chimney
say,
removal.
yep, let's talk about the chimney removal.
Which is kind
So
of
my
going on.
2 cents is when I call the house lifting people, the first question is, does it have a chimney?
Yeah.
So that started the conversation and the looking at the chimney and looking at the attic and seeing the huge tilt to it and seeing that it's obviously not doing anything because it'd be new HVAC equipment that would all be disconnected anyway. So that was just, and a new roof. So it just seemed like the time to say, let's make the chimney go away. That is my builder viewpoint, so interested to hear what you think about getting rid of that.
Yeah, so I think the question that we asked about, was there a chimney there before, and this is just a different brick on the chimney, or is it an entirely new chimney that's not historical, was important, because if there was a chimney on it, it's part of the original historic character of the house, and just removing it is not necessarily something that I'd like to see, even if the brick itself is a replacement brick. So the fact that there seems to be an existing chimney there originally, and it is a visual exterior element to the house that would be lost if it was just removed. So those are kind of my first thoughts.
Did the oldest photo we have is in probably page 1 of all of this. Does that indicate, is it clear that there's a chimney afterwards? Thank you.
Yeah, the chimney
Roughly
just,
in that position too.
Chimney discussions are always so hard because again, it is so indicative of the age and character of the home. And even though they, like in this case, it's not attached to a fireplace, it was attached to a furnace. It almost, homes like this almost seem naked without one because you know that it was a historical element, but I get where your foundation people are coming from, and I get where you're coming from in terms of waterproofing.
It is a pain in the butt.
It
If you're
is.
doing the foundation and the roofing. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it is also, obviously you're close to 9th Street, so it is impossible to see the chimney unless you're standing where the picture was taken, which is across the street. So it isn't like it's an exterior chimney going up the side of the house. It is in the middle and kind of hard to see.
well, I think kind of with that positioning, it is on 9th, but that kind of, I don't know technically what road that is when you're taking it to get to Vinralty. You know, you're quite away from the house, and I think like, you know, you're standing across the street here, but most of the traffic is not going to be on 9th Street. It's going to be on that thoroughfare headed that way and would have a decent view of it.
Yep.
Are you intending on the inside at all to collapse the chimney that's there? I'm just wondering
Yes.
what's on the inside. Is that part of?
Yes, the floor plan does not allow for the chimney to stay. So no matter what, the interior chimney will go away. And we'll have to figure out a way to support it above the roof line if it has to stay. So it would be a cosmetic above the roof line thing. It
Yeah.
wouldn't go through the middle of the house.
We probably would have been easier starting with windows.
Would you like to say yes to a few more things? And I'll come
I know,
to that one?
to lessen the blow. We have a hard time with chimneys because it is just so, it's such a functional part of homes of this age that it's different when we have a home that's got, like we've had some that have multiple chimneys and one's more decorative and one's more functional and.
Yep.
And I'm glad you used the word functional, because in fact, they aren't functional by and large anymore. There's really not a reason to have a chimney, except that we used to have them, so I'm a little
Yeah.
conflicted, because it
I-
does seem like,
I'm conflicted too because
Yeah.
I know what it's going to take you to maintain something that's a visual cue versus a functional part of the HVAC on the home.
Yes. And I would be all for keeping if it were a cool looking old brick, but it's not real pretty. So that's, also why I'm not fighting to keep it. So. I think the owners are obviously putting a lot of effort into all the, I think, other elements that are important to them, restoring the siding and the crown moldings and the porch rebuilds and all that, and the chimney is just kind of way down the list on priority for them and myself.
Amy, I'm just curious, your structural people, so if they put the house up, they're lifting it up. I mean, is the chimney kind of precarious enough that they would wanna, take it down? And, I mean, if you're forced to have a chimney, you would rebuild, or you'd wanna rebuild a new one then?
I need to figure that out. I picture we would have to support it somehow right below the roof line. And the bottom gets detached, we take it down, which we've done that before, where you take the chimney down from the basement, first floor, second floor, and keep it at the roof line.
I remember we did this about a year ago. I remember doing this about a year ago. It was on one, house that Jeff Burke was
Jeff Burke.
working on, right?
Mhm.
So it's not fun, but the chimney can't stay and the house get lifted.
No, that'll create a whole
It's not
different
like
problem.
a straw.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Doesn't stretch?
no,
no.
I don't have that stretcher. Do you have any advice, Dan, on, have you ever supported a chimney above the roof line?
You're gonna box it in.
Yeah.
You're gonna probably box it in and plywood it all together like a nice Christmas present.
Mm-hmm.
That'll keep it together, and then down below, you're gonna have to, I mean, it's just like hanging something on the wall. It's gotta go in and spread. Can be
Okay.
done.
Okay.
At least they can do it on TV, so I'm sure you can do it.
Is that Bob Vila?
Totally.
Bob could do it.
I will watch that episode.
Oh.
So.
Can I hang on the chimney thing for a second and
We
move
can
on to
circle back.
windows? Can we circle
think
back? Are you
so.
okay with that, Amy?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, next, revised basement windows.
Yep. So these are both to allow more light, but also there's an egress window too.
Yes.
Okay.
So on the rear of the house at previous meetings, there are two windows that were there at one point. They're blocked in at the moment.
Yep.
So I understand that those were approved to be put back, I believe. So we're talking
Yeah, I
about.
believe those were. If
Mhm.
I, yep.
Okay, so we're talking about the three on the east side that the designer just thought it was most appropriate to do one under each of the bay window on the east side of the home, and then put the egress towards the front of the home on that east elevation, yeah.
Will that window well for the egress window be poured wall with the foundation, or did you have another plan
I
for that?
hadn't really put much thought into that.
Okay.
It could be, or it could be just landscape timbers. We
Yeah.
won't have to go real deep, because it's not we already have,
Some space
24,
above
30
the
inches
ground.
sticking above.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say it's either poured wall or landscape timbers that get us that. I think we need about another 20 to 28 inches. So.
And so so the windows under the windows, the new windows under the bay window then will be the same material as the one that we had approved before,
Yes.
right?
Well,
Well,
there's
but
another,
Kind of all the windows.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
be
all
the
the
new-
windows would be the same, but
Right, but we're switching from
We're switching to the
Colby to
Anderson.
Anderson,
Yes,
if we approve that.
if we approve that.
Yes.
That's what the request is.
yes,
Okay.
But they would be the same as the ones in the back.
yes.
Is there somewhere in the package that talks about the type of window, casement, double hung, single hung, dimensions?
No,
Mm-mm.
but
don't see those
was
back.
picturing fixed for the 3 small windows and then a casement on the egress.
And the back two were fixed as well, if I remember correctly. They,
Believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And dimensions?
Yeah, mainly for the egress window, because the picture appears to be like a large square window,
It's,
which I don't know if the board has approved, or previously approved, or if,
we rarely get egress windows, to be honest with you, because nobody is usually jacking up their whole house to put a new foundation. So those type of egress windows, we don't come across too often.
the
No.
dimension I have is 42 by 48.
okay. It's a big window.
It is.
It's
I
a
don't
very
know.
big casement window.
I don't know why it's so big.
Normally, you're gonna see something in the neighborhood of 3 by 5 or 3 by, or 3.5 by 5.
Yeah, I don't know that it has to be so big.
Yeah, I was wondering if you really need something that sizable then.
Yeah,
Austere.
Yeah, I would
That's
recommend
right.
just looking at kind of the other windows in the house. Not
Yeah.
that this one's going to be highly visible, but you can kind of see the proportions of the other ones are just a little bit
yeah,
longer, taller compared to the width. So
yes.
if you could narrow that one up to 30, 36.
Yes. Yep. I would agree.
Only you knew who the designer was. We could talk
I
to
know,
that.
why
If
did he
only,
draw
yeah.
that big window? Hmm.
Have to give him an earful when he gets back. Aside from sizing on the egress window, does anybody else have any questions about the placement of the windows?
No.
To give you orientation too, this is the side that is very close to the neighboring house, so there is no driveway or visibility on this side of the
Just
house.
the yard, and I think, is there a fence there? I can't-
Yes.
Some
Yeah.
landscaping, yeah.
Yeah, yep,
It seems like the better place for the egress well, we approved some on 12th where the egress well is adjacent to the driveway, and I always wonder what's gonna happen when the first car goes in
I
there
know,
or
I do
something.
too. I,
yeah.
that always surprises me.
I just hope
Yep.
it's not me.
Yeah. We'll hear about it if it is.
So are we looking for separate motions for each of these
I think we
items?
should look, yeah,
Okay.
I'm good with separate motions for each, because then if there's something that either needs, I'm not saying there is, but if there's something that needs a staff approval versus coming back to us, it can still move things forward. So that seems, on a large project, to be
Mhm.
sort of our winner.
Go to. Mhm. And if this has been answered, I apologize, but are the windows wood style windows? The styles and the things are wood, okay. And they're not clad?
They are clad.
They are clad. What
Because-
are they clad in?
Well,
So
we
is this
haven't
a-
talked about that part yet.
So, so should we just, because it's related, so maybe we
Just
pause
lump
on the
the windows
basement windows,
together.
because we've answered the questions about their placement. We'd like to
Mhm.
see the egress one, maybe come into a better scale of proportionality with the other windows in the home. So let's jump ahead down to the window switch,
Mhm.
Okay,
if you're good with that, Amy.
yes,
Okay, so let's go to point 7, which is Anderson windows.
okay. So I just don't work with a Colby supplier, so Anderson is carried by local Duluth. I know that the A series had been approved previously, but then I also know that the 11th Street project that was on the agenda for tonight was approved as the E series. So I'm actually wondering, we're asking for A series, but could we consider E series as well? So both A and E series are a wood-clad window that have very similar or the same dimensionality, but E series is clad in aluminum, A series is clad in fiberglass. The windows on the home, there's a couple original wood windows, but the other windows that would stay are a Pella white aluminum clad window. So,
So the other ones are aluminum clad versus fiberglass clad.
yes. So it started to make more sense when I saw E series had been approved previously. I believe that an E series may even be even better. And it's about 15% less expensive.
So dimensionality wise, you don't think there's so what you're giving up from the A series to the E series is some efficiencies. That's what it seems like, at least in the collateral. And if just because we've approved on, I mean, you know the drill, just because we've approved on one doesn't mean we can approve for another, like, because every home, we kind of look at it as its own thing. But it looks as if, the A-series window, at least in looking at Anderson's collateral, is really a more efficient window than the others. That doesn't mean anything good, doesn't mean anything bad. It's just a trade-off between the fiberglass material and the aluminum.
Yeah, and I guess what I'd like to allow is if either or could be used, the homeowner could make that decision based on where their budget is at. And then, because we're not replacing all the windows that have already been replaced, what would look most similar to what is there is an aluminum clad. Not that, they all kind of look, I feel like the same.
Same.
Yeah. But
Do we have a window schedule for, like, dimension of the ones that you're replacing and dimensions of the new?
well, we're not replacing any. They're all new locations and sizes and,
Oh, I see,
But-
rather than filling an existing gap.
Yeah.
I was thinking that some were, well, even,
yeah. Okay.
but that
But that
was,
was previously approved? Yeah. So
Right.
all the windows, sizes, locations, as I understand it, besides those that were the basement ones, were already approved.
yeah.
So now it's.
So
the
these are all
Colby-
just new. So you're not putting in a new window in an existing roughed out space, you're doing a new rough out. And then for all these other, for the dormers and for all those additional ones, it's not anything, okay.
But all of those were already approved except for the new dormer we're talking about. So it was really the switch from Colby to Anderson. And then can we do the E
The
or
E
A?
versus the A.
The E or A, yeah.
I'm wondering if anybody has any questions here about these two.
So our motion is to approve the application for certificate of appropriateness as to windows? Is that sort of what we're?
Mm-hmm.
As to a switch
Okay.
And adding the basement windows.
and adding the basement windows.
If we want to lump those together.
Which I think we probably could,
I think we can.
I think so.
and then we'll be able to tick through some of the next items.
I'll move to approve the application for certificate of appropriateness as to switching window brands and as to basement windows as submitted for 240 West 9th Street, based on local guidelines and the Secretary of Interior's standard number 9. New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment.
One thing I would want to note or clarify is the application does say the A series for Anderson. Are you motioning for A series or E series for Anderson, or just Anderson as called out?
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to choose A or E, I think you need to choose A or E based on the fact that it's wood window with a shift from a Fibrex
Mm-hmm.
to an aluminum clad to match the cladding that's on the other windows that are there, as long as, and again, then you get into the whole dimensionality, my word of the night, dimensionality is not altered in switching from one series to the next. I do think the E-Series, just at glance, probably gives you more customizability in terms of, like, you know, down to the nano dimensions than it looks like the A-Series gives you. It looks like that's really made for replacement windows to give you a lot of options there.
Yes.
I feel like the applicant wants that flexibility between A and E.
Right, so
or is
the
that
homeowner
correct?
can
still
make a
true?
decision.
Yes.
I guess in my motion, I'd allow for either
Okay.
one,
So we need
which
it,
isn't supported anyway, so.
right, so we need a second, but I have a comment too.
Sure.
I'll second it and then.
Okay, and then I'll
Thank you,
comment.
Apparently
Um,
you can't, Ken.
I can't do anything
kidding.
other than
I know.
comment. That is
fine.
that is the curse of sitting in
I
this
hear
seat.
you.
I have a gavel and the ability to comment. That's all I get. So I have the gavel, which I've never used. The other comment has to do with evaluating the dimension size of the egress window so that it looks more proportional to the other windows on the home.
Yes. Got it.
And we do not need to specify whether it's the wood timber frame below or if it's cement poured. And I don't know if we have a preference one way or the other. It's,
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know if we even have jurisdiction over that.
I feel
Is that like
not.
landscaping considered, or?
well, it's part of the being able to use an egress window. So
Yeah.
we can always say that we have a preference. I don't know that we do have a preference.
Yeah,
So I
I
just
don't
bring it
know.
up as another comment since you had mentioned that you didn't have it determined yet. That's all.
Yeah.
And we have no preference, so we'll just leave it at that.
If we had a preference,
Okay.
we'd try to help, but I
Right.
we don't, so.
Okay, so let's vote on that one. Cook is absent. Fowler? Lambers?
Approve.
Nieves?
Approve.
Relinski abstains. Shay?
Approve.
Ike and I approve. So that is approval for the switch in window brand, the ability to choose the A or the E series of the Anderson windows, the basement windows with a request to reevaluate the scale of the particular egress window. So check.
Got it.
So on to the next.
Okay.
Additional west dormer, so point number 4.
So previously, the dormer on the east was approved. This is a new dormer to the west that the designer would do a much better job of explaining why this is appropriate with the vernacular and
We know the
yeah.
designer, we know.
So you know.
We can probably hear him in
Yeah,
there.
so this was appropriate.
Yep,
He wanted it to be differentiated from the gable on the east, so that's on purpose. And, yeah, giving up some floor space to make that happen because he thought it was more appropriate. I don't know that I have a whole lot more to add to that.
so it is giving up floor space in order to make that happen?
Yes,
So I think to differentiate it from the other side. So if you look, the other
Existing.
side goes all the way towards the front of the house to meet
Yep.
that gable, whereas this one is a standalone. You kind of see that? So I think that's what they're talking about.
I think so too.
yes.
That's the differentiation, and you lose that space by kind of having that dormer be a standalone.
Oh, I see. I see what he's going for.
don't, yeah. I don't, so on the right side of what you're looking at, that elevation where it has the railing, so the dormer above that meets all the way to the gable, to the front of the house. So that's the one already approved. The one on the other side that we're asking for now is more of, I guess what I think of as more dormer looking, that it's kind of self-contained.
Self-contained?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not tying into the existing gable roof system. It's a bump. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's really has to do with the asymmetry that you find in Queen Anne's, so that it's not all nice and.
yes,
Yes,
that's what he would say, yes.
yes. I think I know your designer.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns on this one.
I don't either, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Jean Pierre, you have any questions? You good? You're good with that.
All right, then I will move to approve the application for a certificate of appropriateness as submitted for the addition of the east dormer. Per testimony for the proposed changes at 240 West 9th Street as proposed based on the local guidelines and Secretary of Interior Standard Number 9. New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that categorize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment.
Okay. Any questions?
Is this approval for the east or the west?
This is for the west dormer.
West.
Oh, the
dormer,
west.
Right?
Sorry,
The
I think I
narrower.
said east, so.
That's okay. The
Yep.
narrower
Nope,
west
good call.
dormer. Okay.
For the west, the new west, correct.
Okay. So for west dormer, we'll put it to a vote. Cook is absent. Fowler? Lambers?
Approve.
Nieves?
Approve.
Berlinski abstains. Shea?
Approve.
Ike, I also approve. West dormer carries.
Yay.
Okay. So, the next two that we've got are the back door shifted east. So currently and you can explain why, but the door needs to shift east about 3 feet to align with stairs that go up to the kitchen. Is that accurate?
Yeah, this is kind of a case of the slippery slope of if we're raising the house, putting a new foundation in, we're not as locked into where that opening was before. So the floor plan works a little better if we can just shift the door over. So,
So what I understand is that rather than the door opening to where the stairs go down, now the door is gonna open to where the stairs, where the stairs go up.
yes. Yep.
Hmm.
So the back stairs are kind of your typical mess right now with pie shapes and all
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of thing. So with the new foundation, we'll be putting in a true 6-foot landing, stairs going up, stairs going down. So the door in the middle just kind of made more sense of how you can swing the door and have storage and shoes on the floor and that kind of thing. So it's, yeah, on the grand scheme of things, not a huge thing, but it seemed like worth doing if possible. It is on the back of the house.
Yeah.
Not real visible.
Do we
And
wanna,
that won't be an issue with the windows? What am I seeing? Maybe I'm looking at this wrong.
so it's revised already.
Yeah,
That would be why.
yep,
I'm looking
where
at
the
this going,
drawing that
okay,
you
wait a
have
minute.
shows the
Yep.
new location. It
Okay,
used to
good.
be
Used to be a
tight
lot
to the
closer.
corner.
Okay. Then no, there is no problem with the windows.
Nope.
Okay.
Do we want to look at the next item as well?
I
'Cause
think we
that
can,
was a
because the next
similar-
is the porch upstairs, and if we can lump those two together, that would be nice, and then we just have to revisit our
Okay.
chimney.
So the upstairs change was the door used to come out to the porch on the east elevation. Now, just with floor plan changes, we would like it to come off of the south elevation and have a window where the door was previously approved. So, the way I understand it, everything was approved as far as the railing, the porch, the gable, the door, now the door is in a different location with the window where the door used to be.
And was that just a solid wall where the door's gonna be now?
Yes.
Before? Yeah.
So it was a solid wall and now it'll be a door, so it's just coming out from the other side.
Yep, and then where the door was is now a window. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so window size,
I can tell you that. Maybe.
from the other drawing, it looks appropriate for the scale of the home, I'm just curious.
It, I believe, is 24 by 40 or 24 by 44. South bedroom.
Is that the same,
I think it's the same as what's in the new dormer.
yeah, I was wondering,
So they're very similar, that they're either, 24 wide by either 40 or 44 tall.
And if someone knows, did we already deal with the type of door, the style and materials, or is that part of this?
I thought we had already dealt with the door
Yes.
the first time, so it's just moving to a different wall.
Okay, good,
Yes.
So the door is previously approved.
okay.
Yes.
So a motion's in order?
Yeah, but if everybody's satisfied with
Okay.
window size, then
Yeah.
with a new window, then a motion's in order.
I'll move to approve the application for a certificate of appropriateness as submitted and per testimony for the same address I just said, 240 West 9th Street, relative to the change in the back door position on the first floor and also moving the second floor door to a different plane.
And the addition of a new window.
And the addition of a new window where the door was previously approved, right? Okay. All of this pursuant to Standard 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment.
Any seconds? Thank you. Any comments or additional clarification? Okay, I'll put it to a roll call. Cook is absent. Fowler? Lambers?
Approve.
Nieves?
Approve.
Berlinski abstains. Shea?
Approve?
Ike, I also approve. So therefore, the porch, window arrangement, and the back door shifting east are taken care of. And those pass. So now we're back to our favorite topic. Known as our chimney angst.
I do have a close-up of the chimney on my phone, if that helps, to show you that it's ugly. As far as the brick, so, if, no offense, Karen.
She didn't do it. She's.
No, no. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
I kind of have a question as the builder, as
Come
the
on.
payer.
Uh-huh.
Saving the chimney, is it going to cost us a lot more than removing the chimney? Because we have like split on a lot of the house, so I'm trying to kind of negotiate that as well. That is just something for us that we need to
Okay, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Well,
Which is then a
your definition of a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is more expensive to keep it than to knock it off because we are redoing the roof. So, yeah. Yes.
Now, and maybe Dan can tell us what is how does one save a chimney that's decorative and only goes
Well,
from,
he just explained that you really have to basically build a solid box with then more of a foundation under it in order for the chimney to have something, because it can't just sit on top of the
Right.
roof.
I think there might be some extra brick bond or whatever that stuff was called coming off a house. We could probably wrap that chimney with
brick
that.
coat?
Yeah, that's
Coat.
right.
Brick coat.
All right, Dan.
No, basically you wrap
Thought
it
it
up.
Yeah.
You would
Can all
wrap
this
it
be
up.
done in the attic, or?
You're gonna do both, you're gonna be
Yeah,
on the
it would have to be
outside,
in the
because if the
attic
building's
and
being
outside.
lifted, you want that thing to be wrapped up tight, so there's no shifting of it,
Mhm.
and then you'll have to basically reinforce it from below. And depending on its height, that's where your torque and that's where your potential hazards could be.
Amy, show me the photo, would you?
Here's what it looks like inside,
Straight off the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, I know.
and with some serious lean. So that was
Yeah.
why we started looking, was the floor on the second floor and first floor where the chimney comes through has definite low and high points.
And is it lean, or was it built like so?
Yeah, because ours was built like that. Ours was built like stepped.
Yeah, it has the witch thing going, but it
Oh,
also
yeah.
is leaning because, yeah.
All right, so
there's
show
other
me, the-
structural stuff that led to it not being so stable. So then above the roof line, it looks like that.
yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean,
Well, and it looks like newer brick. It looks
Well,
like
it
that
is,
kind of
it is.
striated brick that came around in the.
yeah, so I will just, I know I'm only allowed to have, thank you. I know I'm only allowed to have thoughts, but
Thank
having.
you for joining the historical huddle. Please, everyone, back to your seats.
I know.
We kind of missed each other during
We did during
COVID,
COVID.
so we like to get
To
together.
huddle. Having just personally gone through this kind of stuff and trying to find brick to match, because brick was never made in specific dimensions. It was made in the dimension of whoever the brick maker was.
Their mood.
Yes, and it shifted. So sometimes it's, it'd be off by 1/8 of an inch, and trying to replace brick is truly impossible. Like have to have, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, no pun intended.
Hmm.
And
It recently cost me almost $8,000 to have the top 4 feet restacked.
yep,
Okay, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Can we make a distinction that Pierre's brick was very decorative and on
yeah,
the front of the house?
Your brick is beautiful.
And you did a nice
It's
job
not
with
this
it.
brick.
But it's
This
not
was
the
not an
same.
$8,000
Well,
brick job.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing is I don't know that anyone wants to put this much money into keeping what's already there.
I know.
So then it seems even to hurt more to then put more money into making it pretty when it's not doing anything on the inside of the house.
And that's what I'm struggling with, because I just know what we went through. This brick is not original, and with everything else you're doing to the home, I'm just having a hard time because I feel really strongly about chimneys as an iconic mark on a home of this age, but I'm struggling. I'm struggling to have a homeowner pay to retain this.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
I agree.
Like, I'd feel different if you were just here for the chimney because you didn't like the chimney. But everything else you're doing to the home is so thoughtful and
Yep.
and really in caretaking of this historic being that we get to take care of for a period of time that,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, they really are sparing no expense, but there does have to be a line.
Yeah.
Where it makes sense and doesn't, and this starts to feel like not making sense because of the interior. and that it's not original.
And clearly, we're all struggling with it.
Mhm.
There'll be great new railings on the top, new colors, restored siding, a new roof. You
What
won't
about a
even
large
notice.
large weather vane in that location?
Solar
Hey.
panels,
Oh, no. Oh.
a windmill,
Those are fighting
wind
words.
turbine.
That's how you start. You
Yeah.
start with stuff like that, and then they'll
Oh, I see.
they'll
Then the
turn 'em
chimney
to
seems
mush really
unimportant.
quick.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
had started with the solar
Yeah,
panels,
I
this
should
would have
have
been
led
super
with the
short.
solar panels.
Why
Oh,
would we keep
okay.
the chimney?
All right.
The
Yeah.
solar panels.
I'd like to move to approve the application for certificate of appropriateness as to removal of the chimney, as submitted and per testimony for 240 West 9th, based on local guidelines and the Secretary of Interior's standard.
It won't be 9.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Is it 3 or 5? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mhm.
I'm gonna come hover.
Oh, sure. Mhm.
No, actually, it'll be 6, I think.
Mhm.
Hang on. The severity. Let me see.
Amy, does it go all the way down to the basement, straight down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, not so much this as it is Sorry, Amy, we're trying to figure out how we can do it, because that's the other part of it, is one of the burdens probably is, the Secretary of Interior standards, are a repair, replace, addition in terms of, changes in materiality that are different from what exists, but they don't allow, we aren't given like we aren't given a easy standard to use for the removal of something, just,
Number 8, it makes it difficult.
right, some actually make it almost impossible to approve, so that's what we're struggling with, is finding the right one.
There isn't a category of removing or items not original
Not
to the,
exactly.
No, because the chimney itself is original, just because the cladding isn't, because there are other categories that say if you put something on the outside of the house but took it off, that the integrity of the original is still there. So because the chimney is there, roof to basement, that part's original, even if it's like vinyl versus wood, even if the wrapper is different. The
Okay.
house still had siding. It's that kind of weirdness.
got it.
So what about this? Because its uses are changing.
Mhm.
It might be 1. I don't know, can you guys read 1 and see what you think? Because that's might be the closest that we can get in terms of leveraging the use of the home is changing so that the chimney on the inside is no longer needed.
It's not a use change in a zoning sense or something, but it just
No,
that
it's
a
a
chimney
use
isn't
change.
part of an HVAC system anymore.
Yeah, maybe Art, I think 9 kind of,
We're
think
back
that's
to
what it
9.
and, I mean, that's always our catch-all, but this is basically an exterior alteration, and we're saying that it will not destroy a historic feature that characterizes the property. Like, that's our justification of saying that we don't feel that this chimney, if your motion is to approve it, we're saying that this exterior alteration, this change, would not destroy a historic feature. I think it's the claim that we're trying to make, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Unless it's specifically about the chimney, in which case the chimney is the characteristic feature. That's
Right.
why I thought maybe, that's why I thought maybe one. Like, I'm like, if the feature was
Yeah.
the porch, would it destroy the home? No, it would destroy the feature, which was the porch. So but
Right.
challenge me on that, because I'm trying to figure out if that's the, I can't find an easy one.
No, I agree. But that's what's making me hard. That's what makes this a hard decision anyways.
When you read eight, then it sort of spells it out in a different way, which is not in your favor.
Right,
It
because,
says that
Don't do that one.
if such resources must be disturbed, mitigation measures will be undertaken. So, I don't know where to go with this either. Like, I feel you, but,
Yeah, a lot of these are saying something should be preserved. So I think if we're trying to approve the removal of something, we can basically say, well, we're approving it because it doesn't match this standard, you know? So like 5, distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property will be preserved. So
But
we
that
can
this one
we
doesn't
can
meet
approve
that.
this because it doesn't meet that, so.
Okay.
I don't know if that's backwards thinking, but.
Well, no,
I think we're looking for the Secretary of Interior standards loophole. So if our interpretation allows us to, if our interpretation allows for the motion to take the chimney down, then that's our interpretation of the Secretary of Interior standard.
so my motion, do I have to start over? I
No,
think
you
I
can-
just
you can
stopped
cite
talking
which-
when
Cite
we-
which one you would prefer to cite, John.
So based on local guidelines and the Secretary of Interior's standard number 5, in which distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property will be preserved. And in our opinion, the chimney in place does not represent distinctive materials or craftsmanship that characterize the property. If Mark Cook were here, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I know. Mark would be a good one to ask about this. Okay, we have a second. So are there any comments that we want to make or any additional clarifications? I'm thinking, no.
well, it's a utilitarian structure, so it's not like characteristic of the design. It's just, they needed a chimney, so we put a chimney there.
See, and that's where I'd argue, because it's characteristic, because it,
It was a necessary part of the home's
yes.
function.
So that's why I'm not so, I mean, so thank you for putting up with us as we kind of like debate this, because this is a good one for us to navigate. And this is why I keep going back to the use change is the right one, because I would have a hard time saying, yes, I think the chimney, I would have a hard time saying that I don't think the chimney is indicative of something that was appropriate for that period. But I can get on board with a use change of the home or the floor space within the home or use change for the chimney as a way to exit HVAC needs out of the building or out of the
Agreed.
home, which is, but that's just me. Maybe I'm splitting
But I think what we've said, and I think we're going towards saying, is that it's not a good example of craftsmanship that characterizes a property. that its craftsmanship and its design isn't very indicative of that time period.
But it is, because every single home had a chimney.
Every house has some kind of chimney, but they are usually more decorative and a little more crafted than this. This looks
Right.
like.
So I think there's,
It's-
you're combining, there's the feature and then there's the.
Material.
Yes.
The material.
The existence of a chimney
And I
is,
think these kind of spell that out separately. And I think we don't have the material, but we do have the
Feature.
feature itself. And that's the struggle.
Mhm. The existence of the chimney is a feature, but the
Yes.
materials, finishes, and construction techniques are not, in our estimation, good examples of craftsmanship that characterizes the property. So the rest of that sentence is will be preserved, but I think we're saying that although the feature could be preserved, we would be preserving it with these materials, finishes, and construction techniques, which do not seem to be very appropriate for the time.
Yeah, I think it's an argument of does the existence of the feature enough justify its existence? Or does it need, in people's opinions, and the
Mhm.
voters' opinions, does it need to have the material, the use, the aesthetic of the historical
Mhm.
originality?
I'm trying to imagine if this was a different,
Different
Feature.
feature? Mm-hmm, good.
like, I'm trying to imagine if this was a different feature, and let's say it's a porch where somebody put plywood down instead of tongue and groove.
Mhm.
I would not
Right.
be okay getting rid of a porch because somebody had put plywood down as a flooring.
But the porch was still needed.
Yes.
The chimney
Right,
is
we
not
still want a
needed.
porch.
The porch might not be needed, because what if somebody was coming in and they wanted to infill the porch in order to do something else because the inside of the home has changed? Like, we've had somebody who
Mhm.
needed some additional, there was more in my head than that, sorry. I was thinking, like, what if somebody came and they wanted to turn the chimney, or this, I'm mixing my, I'm mixing my
Metaphors.
features.
Porch
What if they
into-
wanted to turn it in, a porch into a room or something,
sure.
or because they needed to have some sort of, a different access point, or I don't know, something.
Yeah, and if that were the question for us, I think
would
that
be
your number
use.
one would be good because the use would be changing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, we had you seconded it, didn't you?
Yeah, we do have a
Mhm.
motion that's been seconded.
Okay, well then let's put it to vote and see where we're at. Cook is absent, so Fowler? Lambers?
Deny.
Nieves?
Oh, man.
I feel like we're really grasping at straws. I'm gonna have to say deny as well.
Berlinski abstains. Shay?
Approve?
Don't make it easy.
No, I know, this is like. So, okay, I approve, and the reason I approve is because in the context of the other work being done with the home, I feel like she's in good care. If it were just here for a chimney, and no home, every home is individual. No decision on one home means that we decide that on another home. So I might deny every chimney that comes up again because I don't feel it's the right choice. But when I look at the context of what you're doing to the home and the amount of energy and financial resources that you're putting into it in order to have it last another 100 years. I feel that's a decision that I'm good making, so.
Thank you.
So motion passes.
Okay.
But man, that was a really good one, you guys.
Well, it was.
It was a great discussion to have about it, because those kind of instances like that,
Yeah,
it's
useful.
hard to negotiate some of that stuff sometimes. So thanks for bearing with us as we kind of go through the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
And your home is going to be fabulous. It already is, but this is just, so thank you.
I was just wondering if it's kind of a point of order here, do you need a majority of, I thought you needed for plurality?
I did not think we needed 4 votes, because we've had, but
Do we need a, oh, that's a good question.
grab Amy real quick, just so that she,
Well-
well,
I'll let her know.
okay.
Anybody got a copy of the bylaws? I mean, you might need a majority of the full commission.
Of the full
or
commission.
you just need a plurality vote of who's here, or a majority of who's here.
Well, if I messed that up,
Yeah,
I
nothing to-
apologize, because
No.
I thought that it was, I thought we've had other ones that were close like that.
I thought so too, with the designer stepping out to.
Oh, it's hard, what would we do, because Mark's not here, and Nick has to abstain.
An affirmative vote of the majority of the HDC members present shall be required for the approval of any requested action or motion placed before the HDC.
Did it
But
say
Those
that?
present.
It said present,
Present?
Members present, that's correct.
Members present.
so then,
There you go, you get a majority of your quorum.
Yep.
5 people, so.
that was hard, because you know I love my chimneys.
I know, and I feel like we were grasping at straws big time, trying to find something
What to
within
hang it on.
our
Yeah.
standards. That is the thing. That's why I was like, I don't know.
No, that was a
Yeah.
great discussion, though, to have.
was.
Because how
Yeah.
often do we get into stuff like that? And I think that was really good to go through that, because again, you know, it's like, I'd never vote to tear down a chimney, ever.
Mm-hmm. I know you don't.
You
I
know
was
I
like,
don't.
Kim,
I
who
know,
are
you're
you?
like, what are you thinking?
Like, what's going on here?
But I also
Maybe there was a
know,
better, I don't know.
I also know that what they were doing on the inside of the home, and quite honestly, if they're gonna jack up that whole home, that chimney is not gonna stand.
Is
Yeah,
that not
Probably gonna fall
wild
anyway, so.
to do that?
Is it what?
Not wild, like literally to jack up your entire house? Like,
Yes,
I'm
but
impressed.
We've seen others,
I'm
others,
impressed.
yeah, I mean, and then
It's
I just-
hardcore.
That is hardcore.
I'd move. I wouldn't do that.
I'd dig
nope.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was,
Well, you're the only board I'm aware of that has that, but that's, maybe there's more out there. Usually it's gotta be a quorum of the members of the board. So that means a board of 6 needs 4. If only 5 people come, it still has to be 4.
yeah, see, and there's one right there,
Yeah.
a quorum consists of no less. Well, if we misinformed, then we'll have to,
Yeah,
I'll have to backpedal on that one.
yeah, and they
Let's
were
hope
gonna,
we
they're
don't
gonna
do
leave
that.
anyway, but if we needed to figure out another way to do it quicker, we will, because they need to know that before they start the
Jacking up
the
the
first
house.
process, yep.
Yeah.
Mallory, you were reading right from the
And it's,
bylaws.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right here, so I think we're okay.
hers said majority of present.
Of
Yeah.
the members present.
The members present, that seems clear, but
I think
I'd
we're okay.
especially yield to you two if you felt.
Nick, I'm
differently.
bummed that you
Right.
weren't here for that one,
Didn't do it.
because,
Right.
yeah, but you missed a really, like, healthy discussion about, it wasn't, it was.
Kim only had her hands around my neck one time. It was really okay.
I only kicked you with the ankle twice.
Should do that.
You know what, though? It was a really good discussion, because not often do we have, I mean, I really think that, like, breaking stuff up into bite-sized pieces has suited us well, and grouping things together when they should be grouped together. But some of those decisions, it was a good discussion, so. Okay, on to the next, administrative approval, because I'm sure everybody wants to get out of here.
Yes.
56 West 13th Street, removal of the portions of the fence. Removal of 80 feet of chain link fence along the east side of the property from the sidewalk back to the northeast corner. This was one that Phil did, like what, on his final day? Staff has confirmed the fence is not historic and deteriorated.
You had me with chain link fence from the sidewalk and the word remove.
Yeah.
Totally good.
Okay, that was just an FYI, chain
Mhm.
link fence
That's good.
gone. Next is committee and staff report. So introduction of the new preservation planner, who is probably wondering what she is doing here after tonight's meeting.
She's still here?
So welcome,
Oh.
Anna. She's still smiling. This is
Yay.
great.
This is a little unusual, Anna.
It is. Would you like to introduce yourself?
All right, is that how I turn the
You
mic?
got it.
All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Anna Minabo, and I am the preservation planner, the new one. I'm really excited to be here, filling in this role. I'm a recent graduate student. I have a master's degree in history museum studies, with background in historic preservation, and like I said, really excited to be kind of assuming this role and seeing where it goes from here. As you said, this was an interesting night to be here. So yes, thank you for having me.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here. That's it, folks. It's a wrap. So does anyone
That's all,
want to make a
folks.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, I saw that.
Support.
We'll start losing our minds.
Somebody's going to support. Okay, all in favor say yes.
I know,
Yes.
she's
Yes. All opposed say no.
she's a pretty good baby.
No no's. We're out of here. Thanks, everybody.
Great.